mistake.
You're exactly what you need to be, Dexter. You're perfect.
You're perfect, Dexter. It's quite an ending you wrote there, Manny Coto. I'm sitting here with Manny Coto, writer of Every Silver Lining.
It was a fun episode to write and to watch get made for an interesting reason.
Yeah, let's talk about. Let's just get that out. The director, you had to work with a director who also is the star of the show, Michael C. Hall.
A young director starting out. I used, I was able to coach him through the process because of my experience with the Dolph Lundgren movie and having directed Dolph Lundgren and having directed Larry Drake and Dr. Giggles. I was able to help him, coach him through the nuances of directing actors and getting
the auteur theory,
those subtle performances that you want, in Dexter. No, it actually, I wasn't even on set more than a few moments. So it was Michael's directing debut, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I really thought you get sometimes in these episodes, you get a director's cut, and you'll be like, my God, what happened? This was a wonderful director's cut where, he really got all the moments, I thought, which is, rare often in your first cuts back.
And not just his moments.
Not just his moments.
Very
he got all
focused on everyone. Like there was a lot of coverage on everybody.
Yeah, it's. Sometimes in television, it's especially when you're rushing so fast, you'll write a script and
we have 8 days.
Right, 8 days. Yeah. And you'll know what moments need to be emphasized in your head and what have you, and you'll get back a director's cut and you'll realize the director had a whole different moment and an emphasis in a certain scene that you and that you didn't see, or and so the moment that you expected to come out, the big moment, the reveal, isn't there. It's just been brushed over, and not with this cut. I found Michael seemed to really hit every beat that needed to be hit and hit it correctly and hard.
Yeah, and I felt like he really did a good job with Dr. Vogel.
Yeah, the
Charlotte Rampling. Yeah, because the episode starts with this,
right? Not
a flashback, but a video of earlier time.
Yeah, there's really interesting stuff in this episode, and that is, which is always fun, is expanding a little bit of the mythology of Dexter's history, and that is, learning that Harry didn't come up with the idea or the concept of the code solely by himself. He had help. He had professional coaching, and then we learned that Vogel was this person who he went to, who helped him formulate this concept of turning Dexter into a serial killer that only kills bad guys. And so introducing Vogel, and we introduce her in this episode as kind of Dexter's, quote, spiritual mother, meaning someone who came up with the framework for his existence. And that was a really fun aspect of Dexter's history to kind of, mine. But it was a cool opening to open with Harry, in video and talking to this off-screen
an emotional
person.
Harry, too, as opposed to the flashback Harry, who's very...
Right.
He's just very stoic and stands around.
Well, you got the feeling, the flashback Harry, that he just kind of came up with this and on the fly and was very kind of confident about it. But to see him really breaking down in front of Vogel and really worried about if is this going to work or not.
It felt more real, actually.
Yeah.
It added this edge of reality to what a cop necessarily think this is the right thing to do immediately.
Right, exactly. And so it opened up this character of Dr. Vogel, and Charlotte Rampling is wonderful at, and a very big opening scene between Dexter and Charlotte, which was tough to write, but it was, I thought, wonderfully directed, where she explains the whole history of how this came to be, and then goes into...
That's one of your favorite things to write, isn't it?
It's so fun. It's so much fun writing these 5-page scenes
about the past,
and then in the future, and then describing how this killer is leaving, brain cores on.
Yeah, it traveled a lot.
The scene went all over the place, and then it went into the history of the Mongol Empire, and touched on the Roswell incident. But so it was kind of a big scene.
But then what's interesting about it, I was watching it sort of fresh last night, was seeing how I didn't necessarily trust Charlotte, or not Charlotte, but Dr. Vogel.
Dr. Vogel, yeah.
There's something. I mean, anybody that does this for a living, anybody that's like a psychopath whisperer, you have you wonder a little bit, but
Right. Well, you definitely come away from the episode feeling that she is a character to watch. There's a sinister quality about her, a little bit, and especially at the end when she kind of embraces Dexter and says, "You're perfect." Is he being manipulated? I think, and it's a good thing to come away from because we won't really know until the season plays out. But
it's sort of an interesting concept that we tackled this season too. The thought that a psychopath, I mean, in generally speaking, in movies, if you're a psychopath, you are a bad guy. Right. From one of your favorites, Khan, all the way to Silence of the Lambs, to Dr. Giggles, whoever. Right. Psychopaths are bad people, are bad things, and Dr. Vogel has this alternate view.
Right. No, it's a really interesting concept that she kind of views psychopaths as part of kind of the evolutionary process in a sense that they cull the herd, and they've made the human race stronger. By being psychopaths, and there's theories that psychopaths are many of the people who end up in charge. Who run
Alexander
our lives.
the Great.
Alexander the Great. But, in today's world, corporate leaders, politicians, the most powerful have an element of psychopath in them. And because it helps you to not, it helps you, the lack of emotions helps you to make tough decisions and to, sometimes walk over people if need be to get to the top. And so it's an interesting concept that Vogel, plays out here, is that psychopaths are necessary to humanity.
Dexter is necessary at a very moment in his life when he's thinking, I destroy everything, my sister hates me, I'm alone. Right,
exactly, which dovetails nicely into what Deborah's going through this episode, which is,
what's up with Deborah?
Well, I'll tell you. Deborah in this episode is continuing a very interesting slide, which began in episode 1, which was she's undercover with this guy Briggs and doing drugs, and
Dexter kills the guy, trying to protect his sister.
And we get the sense that Deb is, but we get the sense that Deb is doing this in a way to punish herself. And there's an underlying feeling to that. And in this episode, it culminates in her allowing this. She basically almost asked to get beaten up in this room.
She could have let El Sapo go. The most handsome El Sapo I've ever seen, by the way.
He's a very handsome El Sapo. As far as characters named El Sapo.
In the history of toads.
Yeah, he's named like you picture some Mexican comedy team, the El Sapo.
And Bumblebee.
Right. But anyway, so El Sapo comes in, and Deborah launches herself at him for some jewels, by the way. This guy's got a gun, and she's still going after him because she just wants these jewels. And, I think it comes through in the cut. Michael certainly got the moment where it looks like almost Deborah is asking for this as a punishment to it.
And it was brutal.
It was a brutal beating.
Yeah, I mean, it was up there almost True Romance-like, and it's in the way she's getting thrown around.
Yeah, that was, exactly. And of course, the aftermath of that is where she goes off and shoots the guy, which is a wholly different kind of killing than La Guerta, which was, under pressure in the moment. A split-second decision. This was almost a cold-blooded killing, although it looks like, she shot in self-defense, but she gunned the guy down. Yeah. So it's Deborah continuing this spiral, which feeds into Dexter, because, we try to plot these episodes so that everything kind of impacts on Dexter in a way. And it is Dexter coming to realize that he destroys everything. And Deborah is the main, the one person you could argue that he loved, besides Harrison, and he's destroying her. She's going down a real spiral. But at the same time, this character shows up, Vogel, who's affirming who Dexter is and that he's necessary. So you have these two forces that are playing out in Dexter's head.
Yeah, it's like the angel and devil. I don't know which is who.
Right. But, So who does Dexter believe? Does Dexter believe that he's a monster, that he doesn't deserve this, or does he believe Vogel, that he is perfect? It's an interesting dilemma, which I think plays out hopefully through the season. I
think that's the plan.
That's the plan. I say hopefully only because I just hope we execute it right. You never know.
Yeah.
Things go off the rails. I mean, 24 season 6, good example. You can start with the best intentions and episode 5, and suddenly the train goes off the rails and it's in a ditch.
It went on a different track after a while. It turned out all right. Yeah. So
But anyway.
and then we have the brain surgeon.
Right.
I mean, those are the sort of those are in a season that everything feels sort of unfamiliar. You know, we're so used to Dexter being in control of everything, and we're so used to Deborah being a completely different Deborah that we see.
Right.
These oddly, these gruesome murders with pieces of the head popped off, and
Right.
What is it? The hypothalamus. What is it? It's,
hypothalamus, I believe it is. Or
I forget what part it was. It was a while ago. The hypochondriac,
the bupi-thalamus, or whatever. Yeah, it's
scooped
a
out
part of the brain that controls empathy.
Right, but that feels like the most familiar and sort of oddly welcoming.
Right.
In this season.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, that's the part. Even that moment. There's a moment when at the crime scene at the skate park where Dexter lifts the head and it makes that delicious sound, and he pulls up the bottom of the brain, and you see Dexter talk about it, and you see the old Dexter come back. You see this that sort of smile, that creepy smile, and
yeah. It's interesting that you say that. That is a kind of a fun moment when the brain pops off, and it is kind of a warm, welcoming moment.
Yeah.
In a sense for Dexter viewers, it's like,
he's used to that.
These gruesome kind of deaths. And, what do they mean? I mean, how are they connected to Vogel? Why is, Vogel getting brain cores? And so it's a very strange, kind of gruesome series of deaths, but, that implies some kind of a larger mystery that, will be played out through the rest of the season. But,
and it's Quinn. You gave Quinn the naming of this guy.
I know.
The brain surgeon.
Yeah. Well, we were calling, it's interesting, we as writers were calling him the brain surgeon, and we realized, someone should call him this at some point. I mean, because, we want him to be known as that.
Yeah.
And so we gave Quinn the brain surgeon, and Masuka, of course, cements it with his laugh.
He gets 2 laughs. You gave him 2 laughs this episode. You gave him the one with the brain, the creepy one.
Right.
And then you gave him the other one when he hugs Deb.
Oh, that's
and
right.
He wants to get a little side boob action.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun moments in this.
And so this brain surgeon is they sort of crafted him to be Dr. Vogel is unsure. Is this some? She thinks is one of her patients,
right?
Which leads us down a different road when Dexter finds a print off of the bag,
right? It's which Vogel immediately recognizes as not one of is not one of her patients and is really skeptical.
And yet Dexter's very sure. He's like, science doesn't lie,
right?
Miss Science,
right? And of course, at the end, it's Dexter is proven to have been wrong, in this case, and even Vogel was right.
It's interesting. Even the things that he normally has such steady footing on, tracking down serial killers. Even we threw him off of that. He couldn't.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's Dexter's world is the rug is being pulled out from under him in a number of different ways, in his own expertise, and Deborah, and his place in the world, and Vogel is there kind of to pick up the pieces. We think.
Yeah, so sort of setting her up to be his one lone place of safety.
Right.
Another favorite moment I think people will react fondly to is the quilt.
Ah, yes.
Rob G. I watched it with Rob G. last night. He was like,
Well, I love because they reacted exactly how the audience does. 10 seconds later, like, that's just weird and creepy. Like, can we get out of here?
We get out of here.
I love that. I love that. I love the quilt gag. It was. We went through a lot of different incarnations for that scene. We're just trying to give some kind of punch to it, but how to make him. We're trying to point the finger at him as a killer.
Yeah.
And
drawing a little psycho,
trying to make Sussman someone who who was really just obviously this guy did it. He's sending animal skins, playing on Psycho, little Norman Bates, the mom and the whole thing, and the skins, and then when you go into his place at the end,
which is a creepy.
Yeah, it was
the production design on that cabin was out of sight with Jessica.
Yeah, great production design. It was beautiful, and it just looked like a gruesome. I mean, you got to wonder if this guy wasn't a killer. What was his issue? Because he turns out not to be the killer, but you go back and you're like, well, this guy was. If he wasn't a killer, he was close. But anyway, so and then he's dangling, outside, dangling back and forth in a windless day. But but let's not dwell on production issues. But swinging back and forth as if a hurricane had just blown through. But it was an interesting reveal, and Dexter realizes that he was not a killer; he was a victim, and so
he set back on his heels again.
Back on his heels, a new mystery, and trying to keep the audience on their toes.
Yeah. that sounds like episode 2.
That's episode 2. What's next? That's I think that's it keeps episode 1 from crashing into episode 3, and it helps it sets the mystery and but more so it establishes what I hope is an interesting relationship between Dexter and Vogel, which I think is the core of this. I mean, it's a core because there's also Deborah. So I think the two main points, storylines, which are crashing together, are Deborah's spiral down and Dexter's relationship with this enigmatic woman who's come into his life.
And he's just finding his life, most of his conversations being with women.
Right.
Which,
we all love as men. Spending our entire lives talking to women.
Because there was that like very different moment when Dexter, I don't know if you remember, it was like when Dexter goes to Deb's house after the murder of El Sapo, and he's like worried about her. And he's thinking there's a hitman out there. Could this guy could he start connecting this up and go after Deb? Walks up to her house, finds the door screen off, steps inside, and he finds Deb passed out on the couch. Right. And I
mean there's a scene where she go ahead.
Yeah, no. What's interesting is that normally you'd expect her to just explode in anger, like she has the first episode and a lot of last season. She was a lot of anger. Right. And that scene, you took it an entirely different way. Right. She was
she's
exhausted.
She looks really like someone who's under the throes of manic depression. I mean, it's like
PTSD.
PTSD. Yeah. Well, that's the concept I think we were working on. Yeah. It's like she's up one moment and down the next, and this is you just find her in this exhausted kind of somnambulant state where she basically but still reiterates that she doesn't want Dexter in her life. Yeah. And wants him gone, and was serious about what she said in episode 1. And so Dexter comes away, it's thinking, it really is real. It's not just a momentary flash. This is my sister is done with me, has ridden me off, and is and is really crashing.
Yeah. Hey man, so that's 8:02. Anything else you want to? Is there any moments on set or anything that happened while you were writing that sort of behind the scenes memories that you'll cherish in your heart?
No one specific moment. I just it was incredibly gratifying to see, frankly, Michael directing this episode. It was very
he was so prepared.
He was incredibly prepared. It was fun. We went down to Long Beach a couple times to watch him work with the actors, and he was really enjoying himself, and you can tell that this was not just a one-time lark that he wanted to do. It's you can tell this was he was getting bitten by the bug, and you can see that he wanted to keep directing and make more films. So I wouldn't be surprised if his career takes a different, slightly different trajectory, at least alongside his acting. But any specifics? Not really. It was a tough episode to write. Every episode this season has been very tough. Yeah. It's been a tough season to get together.
We're angling toward the end.
We're angling toward the end, and it's a complicated plot we've come up for ourselves this season. And this episode was rewarding, I think, for me, for just the way there's a lyrical quality of the script which I'm really proud of. The way it kind of the two stories between Deb and Vogel, how they impacted on Dexter kind of came together in the end. Of course, that's not me. That's the writer's room, tearing it apart, but and putting it back together. But I was really, gratified with kind of the way the script, the shape of the script came together. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it was a good episode. And I talked to Michael, I think by episode 5. Right. And he was saying it was hard to transition for him. Right. From being in charge of everything to now I'm an actor. Right. And he said the words "just an actor," which was interesting.
Yeah, being told where to stand, and especially when you as a director look at something and you see it, you can probably do it this way, and this director who's on set is doing it a different way. Yeah. It must be hard to hold your tongue.
Yeah, he said it was a little tough, and then by 5 he was like, okay, I'm back to being just an actor. Right.
Well, part of it also must be fun to simply not have to worry about where the camera's going and all this, and just kind of sit back and do your lines, because it can also be trying. Yeah. But a fun experience.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Manny, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. 8:02. And coming up, we have a very, very special interview. It's our first ever live podcast with the director of the episode, Michael C. Hall. So check it out.
He's perfect. I can't decide if he's perfect as like exciting, scary. I don't know. We'll find out this season. Let's bring out the director. Michael C. Hall.
Hi.
Hey, man. That's quite an episode. I know, huh? You've touched a few of those before.
Yeah, those are they.
Yeah, we had Josh Meltzer, our prop master over here. Everybody say hi to Josh. Made these all these props all along here. We got the head from the Four Horsemen and Geller's hand. We got the brain, huh? With the scooped out by a little, what's the word?
Melon bowler?
Yeah. I wanted that to be the title of that episode.
Yeah, the melon bowler.
Yeah. We got the slides.
That's what they could have called the brain surgeon. That was an alternative, the melon bowler.
We got the slides. You've touched those slides many times.
Yes, I've run my fingers down them many times.
And the knives. Little known fact that there's like a different knife for each season, I guess. Yeah, that's interesting.
We don't have that many seasons, though.
Well, no, right, yeah. I guess it's wishful thinking on Josh's part, right?
Season 11.
And we got the sword that your sister walked in on. Mm-hmm. Or that Deb walked in. That's not really
right.
And then the hand. That was one of my favorite.
The eye struck killer hand.
Eye struck killer hand, right? How about that? The book, Crave to Kill, Vogel, and of course the Spatterhead. We've seen that happen a bunch. How much fun do you have beating in Spatterheads?
Those are good days. Yeah, that's a nice day at work.
And can we talk about, to me, like one of the biggest secrets that came out this episode? That was like pretty shocking. You could hear like this gasp from everybody out there when they saw that Batista, when he's not working, sits at home and watches telenovelas.
Yeah. There was a happy medium that we struck. Actually, we used to, Quinn slammed the door and we left the door slam and went to a gun firing in the telenovela, but we decided that was a little over the top. But we had a lot of fun with that. Yeah. The production furnished me with several options, and that was clearly the one. Yeah.
Slaps and everything.
Yeah. And it also allowed for Jamie to have a woman on a telenovela pretending to be angry while she was really angry at Batista.
See, everything. Yeah, as a director, you got to think through everything. Let's talk about that, huh?
Okay.
Like, first of all, masterful directorial debut here, right?
Wow.
Huh?
Thank you.
I mean, you thought through everything. I remember in prep you were thinking through everything.
Yeah. Well, as I said before we screened it, it was very much a pivotal episode for the character in terms of what he was discovering about his past and Dr. Vogel and sort of reframing the whole relationship with Harry and his whole origin story. So there was a lot there there was a lot of story there to tell, but.
And that acceptance that Dexter needed at this moment when he's feeling this rejection from his sister. And
yeah, exactly. She miraculously steps in, and it's the beginning of the exploration of a relationship with a maternal figure that Dexter's never quite encountered and never quite explored. So that opens the door for, obviously moving forward with Vogel and the rest of the season.
That's one of the that moment, that scene. With Vogel in her office. I guess it was the second one, I think, where she sort of explains this new point of view that she's got about being a psychopath.
Yeah.
That it's a good thing. Alpha wolves.
Yeah, alpha wolves. Yeah, the way she's suggesting to Dexter that he actually possesses something that's not necessarily an affliction, but an attribute, something that is remarkable and can be used for good. She talks about CEOs. I don't know if she says
presidents.
Presidents, surgeons, not the brain surgeon.
No. Though he's probably a psychopath.
I think Dexter, in spite of himself, I think does crave a certain level of acceptance, and she steps into that craving and kind of whets an appetite for a relationship that'll obviously continue.
Yeah. And the way you shot that, though, even there's you're like straight on with Vogel, and then whenever it's on you, it's like looking up, like you're like this god looking down.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely building him up at that point and suggesting to him that he is, like I said, not just afflicted but also special. And Yeah.
And you look,
Well,
great.
Yeah, I tried to make him look special.
Him. Sorry, I get confused. Sorry about that, Mike.
That's okay. That's not me. That's a clone. Who we're gonna? Can he come out?
No. Wouldn't that be like amazing? That'd be amazing. Hello.
Yeah. For me especially, because I wouldn't have expected it.
He keeps looking for the podcasters. He keeps looking to the door. Another moment that you sort of a daring choice, I guess. A lot of times at crime scenes, if you're familiar with the show, a lot of times it follows Dexter, under the crime scene, either under the crime scene tape, either like coming at the camera or just behind him, sort of watching this thing. And you did something I'd never seen before, and it was perfect. I thought the crime scene at the skate park.
Yeah. Well, the space
the
space itself was this sort of undulating expanse, which we don't always have, and I wanted to take advantage of how vast it was and try to get a sense of the whole space. And I thought Dexter himself in that moment, encountering this killer, it sort of harkens back to the first time he saw one of the ice truck killer's victims, this sense of wonder in spite of how horrifying it is, and a sense that he's off balance and trying to move the camera up at a time when the space expands, seemed to maybe give a sense of that. Yeah,
that was cool. Right? Did you guys like that? That was.
I did not operate the cameras though. I just
no. But you had to put this sort of vision in place.
Yeah,
right?
no. One of the things I liked about directing is I had to, or you have to, give people definitive answers so that they can do their job.
Right.
And sometimes when we're acting, especially with a character like Dexter, you can go back and forth. It could be this or that, or maybe it's both. And it was nice to be on set and have to have a more sort of available and expansive energy for the people around you instead of just navel-gazing and going off in the corner and staring at the wall from time to time. It was refreshing, actually.
Because a director makes decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
People need you to say yes or no or this or that or whatever it is, so that they can do whatever it is they need to do. So it's nice to really not have the choice to hem and haw about things.
So you enjoyed making decisions?
I did. And I think I was a novice as a director, but as I said before, I'd been on the set for 7 years, so I had a sense of who the crew was, and I felt so totally supported by everybody. So.
Yeah. Everyone was incredibly excited to have this thing happen. You want to talk about how your transition from directing and acting? Like, how did you do that in each scene? I'm doing my hand. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Well, I think the 7 years helped because there were times where I couldn't really watch what we were filming. Yeah. But having been on the show as long as I have, knowing the look of it, knowing how we shoot it, how the cameras work and our operators work, I had a sense as I was in the scene, as I do when I'm just acting, of what things looked like. Right. There were certainly times that I really enjoyed where I wasn't in the scene, where I got to really watch every single take at the monitors. But the trickiest thing, I think, was saying cut at the end of scenes in which I was appearing.
Oh, right.
Not saying cut too soon. There might be some little magical something. But I had trouble just saying cut in a normal cut way. I would just move my leg or make some sort of weird gesture or face. I don't know, just because I felt so ridiculous.
Yeah, but you did though. Yeah.
So I did. I had to say it. I had to say cut. So I did. I mean, truly, like all those scenes with Charlotte when we're sitting in the.
They're so intimate.
Right? Yeah, right. Oh, I'm special. Cut. Silly.
Working with Charlotte. How exciting has this been?
Oh man, she's an icon. She's when the Rolling Stones were in town, she was the only person I thought of I knew who might have known how to get to their secret show. And I didn't have her phone number, so I didn't call her. But no, she's amazing, and she's very playful and collaborative. And right. I remember when we were getting ready to do the episode, I asked her if she wanted to step on the set where her office is, which is a uniquely tiny space for a set. It was really difficult to maneuver, so I wanted to spend some time in there and figure out what we wanted to do. But she was so game and didn't lord over you the fact that she was an icon. She's just a regular person.
For God's sake.
Yeah, I know. But she's amazing. I mean, Dexter has to be mesmerized by her to a degree. Right. So I was very thankful that they found someone who is so inherently mesmerizing. I mean, really, those eyes are hypnotic. You can just sort of live in them.
Yeah. And you feel this relationship sort of forming between these two people. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. She seems to crave a son, and he is discovering some unrealized craving for a mother. And it's a family drama.
It totally is.
Twisted.
And let me tell you, it gets even more twisted. This season. Interesting thing about that space too. Her office on the Dexter set is actually, that used to be Harrison's room.
That's basically. Right. That's an exact same space. It's adjacent to. We never see those scenes where Dexter walks out of his apartment through a door and into Vogel's office because that wouldn't make any sense. But it's right there. That's luxury when you can keep your therapist in an office adjacent to your apartment.
In your son's apartment.
Yeah. I think I'm going to buy the place next door and just keep my therapist in there.
Was there any moments that you were particularly proud of this episode, like directing-wise, things that surprised you while you were doing this? Was it hard directing the other actors?
It wasn't hard, though. I mean, I anticipated it, but very different people have different sensibilities, different appetites, different things they want you to say, different things they'd like to figure out for themselves. I think having worked with these people, I had a sense of what those things were. But
it's a pretty well-oiled machine, Dexter, after 8 seasons.
Yeah. I was.
What I'm trying to see is, did somebody really do bad and you had to go, no, that's wrong. Let me show you how to do it. No, okay.
No.
All right.
Not at all.
Not even Desmond? No. I love Desmond.
No, not Desmond. I actually, my favorite, in terms of just the pure construction of the scene between Jamie and Quinn in his car outside Batista. This is such a perfect scene, and that was a scene that I never touched, actually, when I got it from the editor.
It was here, by the way, Amy Duddleston, right here.
It was just perfect, and hi, Amy. I didn't see her or anything. But I don't know. I was proud of the 2 scenes between Dexter and Deb.
Yes.
I would have been proud of them just breathing life into them as an actor. But I thought they were sort of taking those characters to a new place. A big part of the story this season will be their attempt to reconcile, or I guess at this point, his attempt to reconcile with her. And there were some things said and some thresholds crossed in those scenes that were unprecedented. So I was happy with those.
Yeah, the what-if game.
Yeah, you really want to play the what-if game? Oof.
Yeah. That was rough.
Good point.
and even in that scene, the way you shot it is in that... The walls look like they're closing in on Dexter in the parking structure area.
You sort of
your arm
technically
against the wall.
Cross the line. You didn't shoot it all on the same side, and they're disjointed. And the alleyway kind of invited that to be a justified choice. But
and the way you're trying to protect her with, or I don't know what that with your arm up against the.
Against the, well, it was just some sort of please stop, please talk to me,
could be anything,
please tell me something. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So the next episode, we can't talk about what happens in the next episode at all, but was it hard returning to Michael C. Hall, the actor?
It was frustrating for a couple of days there because I was waiting for people to ask me those questions, and I just had to deal with somebody else's answers. No, it was... it was a little strange, the adjustment. I mean, I certainly couldn't have maintained that dual focus, but I enjoyed it while it lasted.
Was it another thing that's sort of new is the way that Dexter's feeling so much this episode,
right? Or seems to be.
Seems to be. Yeah.
Or is. Or seems to be.
Yeah, the unreliable narrator. Who knows? He's definitely a little f***ed up.
Yeah, he's a little discombobulated.
Yeah.
He is not the meticulous, compartmentalized, in control, happy-go-lucky serial killer who we met at the beginning. He's in deep doo-doo, really.
Do you like that? I mean, is it...
I do. The character, I think, for the show to have some sort of forward momentum has needed to move forward in some way, and it seems even from the beginning when the ice truck killer appears on the scene, the ice trucker,
hello,
appears on the scene, his appetite for human connection has been whetted, and I think that's something that he's been exploring to his and maybe the people around him's peril ever since. But he's in much deeper water than he's ever been.
Yeah, it gets as someone who knows, it gets good. Here in this final season.
Trust us.
Yes, please do. I have some questions from people on Twitter.
Okay.
Right? I mean Facebook.
Okay.
So you ready for some of these? And then after this, here's what we're gonna do. After I ask these questions, we'll open up to the fans up here at the microphone. So don't, just relax till we get there, but it'll be fun. It'll be good times. Ready?
Ready.
Uriah, not Uriah Heep, but Uriah asked this question on Facebook. Will the code be passed on to Harrison? Thank you very much, sir. What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, to answer that question definitively would be a spoiler either way.
Yeah.
But I
certainly
think
certainly Dexter's greatest fear.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think his greatest fear is that Harrison, in one way or another, would be forced or compelled to go down the path that Dexter has traveled. Yeah.
Which is weird, though, because as most fathers sort of want their children to follow in their footsteps a little bit, or to be able to impart some wisdom upon your child, and Dexter's wisdom is...
Yeah, be really good at what you do and always clean up after yourself.
There you go, yeah. You're gonna make a great dad.
Yeah, that's one of the...
Dexter Morgan, great dad.
One of the components of the code that you never hear, but could be useful generally.
Allison on Facebook asked, out of all of Dexter's romantic interests, which one do you think Dexter was the most fond of?
Well, I think I would have to say Hannah.
Oh.
In as much as she didn't, Rita was blind to his compulsion. Lila was perhaps fetishized it. Lumen needed it in a way. Hannah just accepts it.
Yeah.
It doesn't represent the totality of who she experiences him to be or knows him to be, and I think that's a part of his sense that he could have a more expansive sense of himself. So I'd choose her.
Yeah, that's like Dexter Morgan's big thing from the very beginning, that acceptance.
Yeah. He craves it in spite of anything he might tell us at the beginning.
Yeah, it's like that at the end of season 1 with the there's that, remember the big banner that was up above and it says "We love you, Dexter," this sort of imagined thing. Yeah, this is
he wants a parade, don't we all? Really?
Just one. Andressa says, "Do you consider Dexter a villain or a hero?"
Yes.
There you go. I agree. Yeah. Michelle says, "Is there any hope for Deb, or will she?" Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Do you think there's any? I mean, certainly from Dexter's point of view, there.
I think there's hope for Deb. Absolutely. I think Dexter, obviously, has 99.9% of the responsibility for the position she's now in, but he seems to be at this point in the show, and I think will remain very much her advocate in spite of his sense of responsibility or guilt. And I think there's got to be a way for her to get out of where she is, and perhaps Dr. Vogel could help him with that. I think Harry suggests as much, and I think the show will explore how that might work.
Yeah, it was interesting that in those early scenes with Dr. Vogel, where Dr. Vogel's trying to, and we're not even sure, trying to help out Deb. But why don't you let me take a crack at this, right? But does Dr. Vogel want to do it because of?
Well, that's the thing. I
cares,
mean,
or-
Dr. Vogel's motivations are suspicious
At best.
at best.
Hillary on Facebook asks, has there ever been a moment in the series where you were surprised by where the story went? And that's a tough one. It's 8 years. It's a lot to come back.
Yeah, I think there have been surprises all along. That's a part of what has made it a compelling journey for me as an actor. I remember when I got, we finished the first season, and I thought we should probably just stop. I mean, that was great, and we should stop now. What's going to happen now? And I think it was at the end of the premiere episode of the second season, and the bodies surfaced
Right.
at the end, and I thought that was so just, our writers, you included, have never feared spending whatever storytelling capital we have, just jump right off the cliff.
Yeah.
The bodies surface. Now what? And I feel that every season has had at least a few moments that have felt that way, but that was probably the first time where I thought, okay, maybe we shouldn't stop.
That's good. Thank God that didn't happen, right? When this is Cassia on Facebook asks, when this is all said and done, will you miss the dark passenger? Coming on set, inhabiting this. Dexter Morgan.
Well, Hannah suggested to Dexter that the dark passenger was just a psychological construct that he, at this point, has maybe tried to integrate into his whole self at his peril, as I've said. But will I miss it? Yeah, I think I'll miss. It's nice. Everybody's job is stressful, and it's nice if every once in a while you can go to work and pretend to kill a bad guy. It's a stress relief, and.
Which is funny because on set during those days, you are very you are dialed in.
We
don't walk up to Michael and say, "Hey man, what'd you have for dinner last night?"
I feel like that's I'm not going to say a 50-50 thing.
Yeah,
but sometimes
that's true.
I think people have as much sort of the stuff that they're projecting on the face. What's a kill scene today? We're killing somebody today, so everybody gets serious. Come on.
You're
He's
right.
got his game face on. Look at him. He's wearing a leather apron. He's concentrating.
What if he
I
snaps?
am. And I don't dispel it, oh, look, everybody thinks I'm a serial killer today. But no, those are good days. They're stress relievers, so I will miss that.
Let's see. Jamie asks this on Facebook. In the first seasons, Dexter was so calm, did his job perfectly, and didn't lose his temper. And I guess she's been watching this season. Why did he become so anxious and insecure this season?
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different person. If you look back at season 1, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Well, I think it is like whoa.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to use that. I think that's just it. I mean, I think the sad thing about Dexter as a character is that it's not his compulsion to kill and his living in service to that compulsion that has gotten him into trouble. It's his desire to have his cake and kill it too, as it were. I mean,
right.
he's indulging in more nuanced and deep and legitimate human relationships, and it's affected not only him but those around him. And I guess if you think he's human or you think he's not human, you can't deny that there are cracks in the facade and the delineations between his public self and private self or what have you are disintegrating, and it's getting to him.
Yeah, because Dexter was pretty happy season 1. I mean, it's sort of a glee behind his eyes as he walked around.
Not anymore.
Yeah, no. Oof. But it's still there. That need to kill, it is.
Yeah. I mean, he still has that. I mean, I think you see it with the brain surgeon as he, there's still that childish or childlike curiosity and fascination with with that stuff, and
it's almost like he's trying to dredge up those same sort of feelings, the same sort of fun that he used to have. And it's just,
you can't go home again.
Yeah. It's interesting. So can we open it up to some questions from the people out here? So if you have a question about this episode, you got to come up to the microphone so you could be heard on the podcast. So, give me your first name, ask your question, and slowly. Yeah, good. Go ahead.
I was wondering if directing this episode, you learned anything that might affect the way you approach your acting.
I found that it was nice to be in a situation where I was forced to be a little less precious about choices I make in a scene as an actor, because we just had to get on with it, and felt that my work didn't necessarily suffer, or it wasn't compromised because of that. So maybe as an actor, it was an invitation to just. You definitely want to do your work and you want to sweat it as much as it's useful, but sometimes don't sweat it.
Does that even come down to like, I need one more take? Is that what you're talking about by being precious, or?
I think precious with I need one more take, sure, precious in rehearsal. I think I was also maybe all the more prepared because I knew that I needed to think about it, but I think it was maybe just that energetic thing about being available to everybody as opposed to being focused on your own thing. That energy of being available to everybody is just as useful as an actor as this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, yeah.
Hi, my name is Adam. This is my fiancée, Lindsay.
Hello, Adam. Fiancée, Lindsay.
Hi there. Big fans of this show. This question kind of stemmed from thinking about Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson playing the Riddler.
Mm-hmm. The Joker.
The Joker, that's why I said.
That's okay, yeah, that's okay. I'm here for you.
Thank you very much. I was wondering, over the years, has it somewhat followed you? Has it, not saying has it made you want to be a killer, but has it altered you to be so indulged in this character?
Probably. No, initially you encounter a character and you're a person who's lived your life, and there's the character and their life and you encounter it. But if you play something for this long and spend that much time thinking about it and pretending to be it or do it, then I think there's some part of us that doesn't recognize the difference between reality and ritual or simulation.
The lizard brain.
Well, sure. Yeah, the lizard brain, just on a cellular level, there's something that probably records what you pretend to do and what you actually do the same way. So I guess I'd say I can't imagine it hasn't affected me, but it's hard to know exactly how or where those lines are. But I don't want to kill people.
I didn't think so.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
And also, are you taking pictures at some point? Can we take pictures?
At the end, but yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Your security is just like, oh, God. Oh, man. I looked over at him, and he's like, oh, man. I should have stuck with protecting the president.
Hi, my name's Rick.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, I had a question. In this episode, we learn a bit about Dexter's past and how Harry handled it. And I think we see a little more about, I guess, a weakness in Harry, almost. Mm-hmm. And in the past, he's kind of been this beacon of knowledge, this creator of the code, and now we see that it wasn't all Harry, and Harry did need assistance. Now, are we going to see some of this weakness, I guess, portrayed in Dexter's fictionalization of Harry?
Yeah, I think what he learns about his father will make him all the more antagonistic with Harry. But not that that's already. I think more than what you're talking about, the new knowledge about Harry reflects the fact that Dexter is already crumbling in his way in terms of his rigid adherence to his father's code and his control of his world. So finding out that Harry is not some sort of hard and fast fountain of truth and knowledge and was himself human, is something that I think will make the ground even more shakier for Dexter.
I remember talking to Remar too. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Okay, I remember talking to Remar and how he was expressing how much fun he was having playing the real Harry Morgan. Because it's a
it was fun
secure.
With James to do those flashback scenes, and I could tell he was really relishing that he wasn't a voice in my head or whatever. He usually needs to be.
Was that fun directing those scenes? Those like flashbacky scenes?
Yeah, it was great. And we shot them in the camera. We got the actually period. I don't know if you could tell that the video footage was about 9 years, or the video camera was about 9 years older for the later flashback and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really fun.
You shot on actual those sort of cameras?
Yeah, we shot it in the camera.
Well, that's directing right there. That's
Not
good.
really. It was that was our DP Jeff Jewar going out one weekend to vintage VHS stores and finding the right cameras. Really.
That was great. It looked great. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Scott.
Hi, Scott.
A quick question for you. Did you learn of Dexter's fate before this season began? If so, was that difficult to cope with or to not show in your performance? If not, has the writing team collaborated with you on his ultimate fate?
I found out, I guess I had a conversation with Scott Buck, who runs our writer's room now, our head writer, at the end of the 7th season. If I remember it correctly, it was on the last day of shooting. I just sat down with him and he informally really told me the idea for how the season would end or the series would end. So from that point, I've had a sense of what the ultimate fate would be or what the broad strokes would be. It's always a page turner when I get the scripts in terms of how we get there. But I suppose knowing that, sometimes I had to remind myself. I mean, I think as an actor, you're always encouraged not to play the end, whatever the end might be. And so my knowledge of the end, I hope, didn't. Hopefully, I don't telegraph it. But yeah, I knew going into the 8th season where we were headed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, my name is Carla.
Hi.
I just have a comment.
Okay. Pressure's off.
You're the most sexy killer ever. We love you.
Thank you.
How about
yes. Was that a question?
That was a comment. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Angel.
Hi.
I was wondering, at the end of the 7th season, and I watched this moment a bunch and I've debated it, when Deb's pointing the gun, did Dexter ever really think that there was a chance that he was going to be the one that got shot, or?
That's a really good question. I think that's a really good example of what I love about the show. That Dexter in that moment is really giving Deb permission to do what she thinks is right and what she needs to do, with at least the implicit suggestion that if she needs to kill him, that's okay with Dexter. He's also saying the perfect thing if he wants her to kill LaGuerta. So it's both unguarded and human and suggests a real connection and empathy, but it's also the perfect choice from a pragmatic standpoint in that situation. So it's arguably one or the other, or some of both.
It's the fun of the show, isn't it? Yeah. To live in that gray. Thanks, Angel. It's two more questions. Two more questions.
How was your the transition from directing to acting and directing?
Just going back and forth. Fortunately, we we do prep for every episode, location scouting and everything else that's involved. And they did prep for both the second and first episode before we started shooting. So I had time to get ready and anticipate what it would be like, especially on those days where I was in every scene. I had to put a lot of trust in my fellow producers and our DP, certainly, and our camera operators. And trust that they were seeing, that I had communicated to them what I hoped to see and that it was being seen, because I didn't have time to watch everything we did that I was in. But I think because Dexter's such a subjectively told show, it's always sort of through his perspective in varying degrees, that it was maybe an easier transition or a more appropriate thing for a person to both act and direct. He's always telling you what he's thinking and sort of encouraging you to see things through his eyes. And I think we shoot it in a way that suggests a subjectivity that we're sort of identifying with Dexter's perspective. So to have the person who's playing Dexter, direct, yeah, was maybe appropriate. Yeah.
And also, who was your favorite serial killer? Besides yourself.
You mean on the show or like in general?
On the show.
That's a very different question.
A lot of people don't know about him, but no. Trinity.
Yeah,
I think he's the only one who got the best of Dexter, and Dexter's been reeling ever since.
How fun were those days working with John Lithgow?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I pinch marks, I pinch myself a lot.
I remember, like, when we'd write things, it was exciting to see how he was going to do it. Like, there was even a moment, I don't know, when Lithgow was outside his van, and he walked up to me, he did the dance, and like we wrote it down. We're like, well, maybe he'll dance, and he was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that look on that you gave Dexter, that I don't know what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Right.
As
he
Dexter
was perplexed. Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. My name's Doug. I guess this is more personal. I think we've all had our fondest memories throughout this journey. What has been your fondest memory throughout the last 8 seasons of Dexter?
Or 2.
Yeah. Right. My fondest memory, I don't know. I mean, that's a really tough one. And it may be yet to come. We have 3 more days of the finale to shoot starting tomorrow. So, but I don't know if this is well, it is what it is. But the moment that I always remember is when I got to put on that big hazmat suit in the 10th episode of the first season to do that face plant into the room of blood. And like slide, like a slipping slide through the... Yeah. That's the first thing that came to mind.
It's an amazing moment.
Sliding board.
Yeah. That was like the very first time that Dexter was out of control.
Can I say a comment?
That's true.
Can I say a comment?
Okay.
You said only one question, but I want to do one comment.
Okay.
So I figured
I'm not going to say no to you, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So as someone who's followed your career ever since you played the gay character on 6 Feet Under.
Mm-hmm.
David Fisher.
Yes. Everyone.
Right. Smattering.
And as an African-American gay male in America, considering everything that's happened with Prop 8 and all the stuff that's happened, I want to concur with the young lady. You are the sexiest, by far. Killer on television.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know what? That's how you end a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in here, Michael.
Thank you.
And they can find you. You're on Twitter. Are you?
No.
No? Okay. So there's a whole bunch of people out there that are saying you are.
That's an imposter, and he should be crushed.
Bastards. Bastards everywhere.
Or she.
So there you go.
Or they.
Or they. It could be a conglomerate.
Sorry.
How do I end this thing? It's going to happen again and again. It has to happen.
Tonight was the night.
Tonight was the night. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you, Michael.